With an impending vote on the Republican debt deal, we have some urgent new polling numbers to cover. It seems that the vast majority of U.S. likely voters support cutting or capping spending, even if it causes a partial government shutdown. 38% of voters say they want to have Congress avoid a partial government shutdown by authorizing government spending at a higher level, while 54%, a stunning majority, say they would prefer the government to be shut down until Democrats and Republicans can agree to either cut spending or keep it at its current level. That's a pretty stunning 16-point lead. Keep in mind that Trump only beats Biden by 7 points right now, and Republicans only lead Democrats by 11 points on the issue of trust on the economy. So clearly, there's really some big cross-party appeal to seeing drastic action on spending. Although it is important to note that the 16-point lead is down from 22 points when we asked the same question back in January. Voters still clearly favor a shutdown to lower spending, but the urgency of the decision has sobered them a little. By party, Republicans most favor a government shutdown by a 74% to 17% margin. Independents agree with a smaller but pretty impressive 54% to 36% margin. Democrats are against the shutdown, but only somewhat. 36% of them say shutdown, but a majority, 57%, say they want to see a higher spending level agreed to. Now, Democrat mouthpieces seem like they've been trying to gin up fear about an impending default on the U.S. debt that a shutdown would cause. And 57% of likely voters think it is a possibility, and 38% of them say it's very likely if there's a delay in passing a debt ceiling increase. Only 32% say it isn't likely, 10% strongly. Democrats are most pessimistic about a default, with 2/3 of them saying it's likely, and Republicans are most optimistic, with a plurality of Republicans, 45% of them, still saying it's likely. 74% of those who want to have Congress raise spending to avert a shutdown think a default is likely if there's a delay in reaching a deal, but only 46% of those who want a government shutdown say it's likely. That's right, about half of voters who want to see the government shut down to reduce spending do acknowledge that it may cause the U.S. to default on its debt payments. But let's wax philosophical about why we're in this predicament to begin with. Voters resoundingly blame politicians, with 68% of voters saying the size of our budget deficit is due to their unwillingness to reduce government spending, while only 23% of voters, 3 times less, say that taxpayers are to blame for being unwilling to pay more taxes. Although Republicans and independents resoundingly blame politicians more, even a plurality of Democrats do, and only 40% of Democrats say our deficit is due to taxpayers' stinginess. But that's a really far cry from the big government, soak the rich sentiment that you'd expect to see out of the Democrat base, especially considering how some of their leaders in D.C. vote. But those numbers have moved a lot over time. Just 5 years ago, Democrats blamed politicians more by 66% to 22%. That's a 44-point margin. And in today's numbers, the margin's down to only 7%, whereas Republicans and independents have hardly changed at all over time. And for those of you keeping track, this is another clear sign that the Overton window continues to shift, especially for Democrats. And before I sign off, here's a quick little recap of some of our other debt ceiling polling. A clear 57% of voters at least somewhat support the Republican debt ceiling plan, asked about 2 weeks ago, and 32% strongly supported it. Only 34% were opposed, 21% strongly. Even 43% of Democrats supported the Republican plan, showing a pretty clear rift in the president's support from his own party, though it looks like he's currently on track to get most of what he wanted out of the deal. Voters also said that President Biden should compromise more than Speaker Kevin McCarthy to reach a deal, by a pretty astounding 40% to 25% margin. And even more Democrats said Biden should compromise more than McCarthy. But somehow, for some reason, McCarthy seemed to compromise more. You should really follow us on Twitter, like our videos on YouTube or Rumble, and please subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our upcoming polling on Kevin McCarthy's favorability and whether congressional Republicans should hold a vote of no confidence. It's going to be great.